us through what this process was like for you, and ultimately what the Bucs showed you that made this be the team for you.
Processes in free agency?
Yeah, just in deciding where you're going to be.
Yeah, I think it's understanding what my family wanted to do, what I wanted to do, and continue playing football was the first piece, and figuring that piece out, and then analyzing the teams that were after me, and wanted to kind of sit down with my agent as well as figuring out what's the right place for me and have an opportunity to play at a high level.
So at the end of the day, what was the appeal about coming here and playing in Todd Bowles' defense?
I think the biggest thing is you hit it right there on the head, Todd Bowles. I've had conversations with him over the last couple of years, especially when he's with the Jets last year. Looked at going there and made the decision I did, but wanted to team up with him and see what him and Casey Rogers could help me continue to grow. I think as professionals, we always want to find ways to continue to grow and meet great people, and I've met Todd probably like 3 or 4 years ago via somebody I highly respect in this game, Jim Washburn.
What struck you about Todd Bowles as a coach, just compared to other coaches?
His personality, the way he looks at things, the way he wants to attack. I think Coach Arians also mentioned it in a press conference the other day about being able to attack, be very aggressive, play up the field. Obviously, people have their responsibilities and whatnot, but I've always enjoyed being an attack style defense.
Was there really an allure here of playing the 3-tech? I know in L.A., Aaron Donald played that role, and you're mostly at the nose or the 6-tech. Is that more to your liking, getting those isolations?
To me, as long as I'm on the football field, I'm happy. And then from that standpoint, if you want to look back at last year, I played every single position, and I pride myself being able to play 3 technique, nose, end, 9, 7, 6, whatever you need me to do. And I think it's important for me as a professional to continue to grow and evolve in that space.
When you hear Bruce Arians say he'd like to see all the defensive players play like the way you do, with the attitude that you bring,
Yeah.
What do you think he means?
I think just an aggressive and very intended force of changing the line of scrimmage. That's something I learned at a very early age when I was with Bo Pelini at Nebraska, and I think he changed my game from allowing me to prove that I could play in this league, and then kind of going from there. So I think as a collective group, when you have 4 guys and really your front 7 just attacking and moving that line of scrimmage back into the offense's lap, you're doing your job and you're being a big force.
You're going to be playing next to Vita Vea, the Bucs' #1 pick from a year ago. What's your impression of him? Have you had a chance to watch him at all, or do you know about him?
I've watched a little bit of film. I got a chance to get on Exos and check him out a little bit. Definitely can move. Excited to team up with him. I got to meet him first and obviously get to know him. But exciting opportunity. Obviously, being able to play with first rounders or really any talented defensive lineman, it's always an exciting piece.
You didn't get to play with Alante at Nebraska. You guys just missed each other.
Mm-hmm.
How much interaction have you had with him in terms of meeting him over the years or since you came in?
Yeah, we've known each other over the years. We obviously didn't play it, like you said, with each other, but obviously the Nebraska connection is very tight, and look forward to obviously getting a chance to have him behind me. He's very, very talented, and he's proved that throughout the years.
Ndamukong, you mentioned earlier about wanting to be aggressive, wanting defensive tackles to play like you play as far as aggressive is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
9 years in the league, not to bring up a bad subject, but you've been fined over $600,000. And I'm curious to know how you will balance, or how you've learned to balance your experience and still wanting to be that nasty, aggressive player.
I think the proof is in the pudding. If you go back and look at the track record, it speaks for itself.
That reputation, I mean, when people that haven't seen you play on a regular basis, who just know you as a casual fan,
Mm-hmm.
you're someone that shows up on these lists of NFL's dirtiest players.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that is things that you probably earned fairly early in your career. How do you feel about changing people's minds about who you are as a player and what your reputation should be?
I think when you look at people in general, you got to get to know them. You got to get to have FaceTime with them. You got to be able to have the opportunity to interact with them. And so before you pass judgment on somebody, I always take the time to get to know them, meet them, have coffee with them, whatever it may be, and then be able to go from there. I think when people have seen blips of me, as you mentioned, it's been in a negative light rather than a positive light. And that's due to outlets of media, social media, whatever it may be. And so I can deal with that because I know who I'm as a person. I know who my parents are, what kind of child they brought up, and it's irrelevant in my life. I think the people that know me the best see me always in a good light and see the troubles and tribulations that I've gone through, as any human being goes through in their life. So being on a list is good and bad, whatever you want to continue to look at it as, but I've been very lucky and very blessed in this league to play at a high level, and I want to continue to do that.
Anytime an established player comes to a new team, you can tend to change the culture. What do you hope to bring to this team to move it forward?
I think the most important thing to bring to this team is being able to play in some elite defenses, break records, as I did in Detroit, play at a very high level in Miami as well as in L.A. Have gone to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but I've been pretty much through the gamut. So be able to bring that experience and be able to bring some different views on things, but at the same time understand it all needs to be collective and we all have to have one vision, and that's winning.
You're coming to a defense that's really young, with the really exception of Jason Pierre-Paul or not play this year, and Levante. Are you looking forward to taking on more of a leadership role?
I think I've always been a leader in my own particular right, and whether I was a rookie in Detroit or being a ninth-year guy in L.A., I've always been a leader of action, and I think actions speak louder than words, and I've always been priding myself on that, and so however that kind of evolves in itself, I think Coach Arians is going to be the person to lead that, and then we follow behind him as he's the head coach, and then obviously that trickles down to Coach Boyles, and then guys like myself. So I'm happy to lead in any way is which is best for me, at the same time what's best for the team.
Speaking of leadership, what are your plans here in Tampa off the field in terms of getting involved in the community?
I've always been a big person in the community, whether I was in Detroit, Miami, even in L.A. for the short period of time, but I've spent a lot of time in L.A., so I know a lot of people there. I've always been a big person to be charitable and involved in certain things. I have backpack programs that I've done in the past, and then obviously just case-by-case situations that I can see that I can help and be of advantage to other people. So I'm very open to it, and I have to get my bearings first and foremost before I can start to help.
Playing in the extreme heat with the Dolphins in South Florida like you did for years, what did you learn from that as far as preparing yourself to play in this weather?
It's a great advantage, to be honest with you. If we can get ourselves as a team playing at a very high level within the heat and being able to go across the country wherever we need to go, whether it's London or onto the West Coast, it's a huge advantage for us. I've always enjoyed playing in the heat, and I've played in Mississippi with my sister when she was in college there and training in that heat, and I look forward to being down here in Tampa and training in that heat. I've seen great success with it, and it's always good on the body.
Ndamukong, you're stepping into a role here where you're potentially replacing one of the most popular faces in franchise history in Gerald McCoy.
Yeah.
What do you know about Gerald? What's your interaction with him, and how do you kind of shed the image that you're kind of taking his spot?
I'm definitely not taking Gerald's spot. Gerald set a stone at this franchise for many, many years. Very successful, played at a very high level. I've got a great relationship with him. The last time we actually spoke was at the Super Bowl, him wishing me best luck. And so our relationship is good as far as I know, and the last time we spoke, and I wish him all the best in his endeavors. I'm not here to replace him. I'm here to kind of make my own path alongside this team and be a shining emblem of some sort to help get to a winning, successful situation.
Did you talk to him at all about playing here?
Did I talk to him? In years past I have. This year, no.
And, last year you had no personal fouls. The year before you had very few. Do you think that, going back to the reputation thing, do you think that sort of reflects a change in play or just better luck with the officials? Or?
I think statistics speak for themselves. They're pretty consistent, if I may say. And when the time is needed in big games, that's when I like to show up. And I think I've pretty much proven that throughout my years.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you.
You're over in France. What was that process like? Did you kind of know that this deal was coming together while you were there? Did you get a chance to toast with your future wife once it was official?
Yeah, it was great. I had a previous plan already trip over to France, many things to do, see my best friend who plays basketball over there during his playoff days, and then obviously get to Bordeaux. Nobody knew that I was going to propose, so it was a good surprise. She was elated, which is most important. I'm glad she didn't say no. But other than that, it was just a great trip. I'm glad I got to go over there and enjoy that. And at the same time, it was a big week to be able to become a Buck, and very exciting to the future of our household and family in general.
Did that kind of add to the stress, putting on top of engagement and everything you were planning?
There was no stress. I mean, I've grown up in a very fortunate life, but both my parents come from third world countries. My stress is nowhere near compared to what they've gone through.
You're 32 years old. you haven't missed a game due to injury at all.
Mm-hmm.
How much longer do you think you can play or want to play in the NFL?
I will go back to a Jim Rome interview with Tony Gonzalez. And I will never forget these words Tony Gonzalez said, is that mentally mentally and physically are the two things that are going to allow me to continue to play this game at a high level. But mentally is where I'm going to find myself wanting to retire. And so for me, physically, I think I can play as long as I want to. And I think the team that I have that works with me day in and day out affords me that, as well as the hard work that I put in the off season. So it's from a mental aspect and really having aspirations that I have outside of sports, and that's really in the business world. I've been fortunate to have some amazing mentors, and so it's when I decide I'm really looking for an opportunity to kind of move in a different direction and have my main focus in life being business and entrepreneurship and whatnot.
Are there any memories of Buccaneers offensive linemen that you can share watching them on film through the years or playing against them?
I'd probably say Carl Nix. He's another Nebraska guy. We had many battles at school, and then obviously had some times here with the Bucs. In general, I think I've only played against the Bucs maybe once or twice, or maybe 3 times over my career. So not a lot in general, but nothing that really kind of sticks out of my mind. I know I've had some challenges of getting to the quarterback, but I've also had some wins of getting to the quarterback and plan on being on the ladder.
What jersey number do you anticipate wearing here?
Hopefully 93. It's been what I've been wearing in the last few years, really since I left Detroit in my days in 90. And I don't look forward to taking JPP's spot, so that's how I look at it.
In your mind, how much does coaching matter at the pro level? Can a really sharp coaching staff, a new one, change the culture?
I think coaching staff is very important, and being able to buy into what they're speaking and really just laying out on the table for us as players and professionals to soak up. So I think it's an intricate piece, but also at the same time, you got to have ownership in yourself. I think you can't just look at the head coach and the staff to say it's their team. It has to be a collective group that understands that it's our team, and we need to all have accountability in that and take ownership to be successful.
The other day said that he wanted to see fire still in your eyes. Do you still have the fire in your eyes?
Fire in my eyes. If I'm on that football field between those white lines, there's lots of fire. I've been very, very blessed to have tunnel vision and focus and a drive to understand where I want to get and be able to bring people alongside with me at the same time. Do it on my own. But, I mean, the one thing about this game, this is the most team-oriented game you'll ever play. Having watched tennis, some great tennis players this last weekend and seeing how they're all by themselves, they got their own nuances, you got to have guys to play with. So I'm excited with the team that we have here and seeing what we can get to.
In looking at one of your more notorious incidents when you were younger, you had an incident with Devin Smith when he was playing in Green Bay. You're now teammates.
Mm-hmm.
What was the aftermath of that? Was there ever an apology or any type of discussion with
There's really no aftermath. I think that was in the past and will remain in the past. We've interacted with each other multiple times throughout. He was actually the second guy I got to speak to when I got here today. So I don't see any issues with it. I think people want to make it bigger than what it is, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to Tampa.
Thank you, guys.